Look, collective bargaining benefits everybody. And you know, the term, and I'm looking at our young leaders who are here. I'm so glad you guys are here. So collective bargaining, it's just a basic logical point. So here's what it means. It means that in any negotiation, you want the outcome to be fair. We all want fairness, right? Everybody wants fairness, or should. So here's the thing about collective bargaining.
Another historic union deals a crushing blow to Kamala Harris. We are talking about the International Association of Firefighters and how they have long endorsed Democratic candidates for president, but not this time. So what we're going to do is talk about the magnitude of this announcement, but also the wild excuse that MSNBC is coming up with to explain why Kamala Harris is not getting the support that she should be. So let's start here. All right, so here is the statement from the IAFF General President Edward Kelly. He said today that the IAFF Executive Board, by a margin of 1.2%, voted to not endorse a candidate in the 2024 presidential election. Now, let's just stop right here. By a margin of 1.2%. Now, just think about that. That means what? That Trump, because they polled their union members, was winning by 1.2%. They're not going to come out and say publicly that they are endorsing former President Trump. Not in these divisive times. They're not going to do that, just like the Teamsters did not do that. They don't believe in whatever she's trying to sell, but they also do not want the backlash and the drama if they were to endorse Trump. Right. And so that's what we have here. Now, here's what they go on to say. Over the past year, the IAFF took unprecedented steps to hear our members' views on the candidates and the policy issues that matter most to them. So now that we know what that announcement actually is, let's talk about why it is so important and damaging to her campaign before we get to the excuses that MSNBC ends up coming up with, which is insane. But anyways, I digress. Let me play you a clip from CNN that breaks down the problem that Kamala Harris is facing when it comes to the union vote, and why, when you're thinking about the battleground states like a Michigan or Wisconsin or Pennsylvania, this could literally decide the election.
There's also a lot of talk. There are a lot of union members in Michigan, and we know union leadership's endorsement of a presidential candidate only goes so far. It really comes down to the rank and file members who might be in favor of Trump because they're worried about electric vehicles. There might be cultural issues, et cetera, et cetera. Where does the union vote stand in Michigan?
Yeah, so let's take a look. We'll look at this year, and then we'll compare it to where we were back in 2020. So this is union households in Michigan, presidential election margins. Look at this. Joe Biden won that vote by 15 points back in 2020. Look at where the margin is now. Harris is ahead in union households, but that number, that lead for her, is down to just 6 points, down to 6 points. And this mirrors something that we've seen nationally, and that is, at least among union households, Kamala Harris is right now showing the poorest showing for any Democrat. You'd have to go all the way back since 1984 in the Reagan landslide, when Mondale won union households by even less than right now what Harris is ahead by. But the bottom line is, yes, Harris is ahead among union households in Michigan, but that margin is considerably slimmer than what Joe Biden won amongst them back in 2020.
All right, so you guys know what I'm going to say. Women lie, men lie, numbers don't. And the numbers are screaming that Kamala Harris is absolutely the weakest candidate for a Democrat. So the IAFF not endorsing Kamala Harris, it's a result of what the numbers have been saying about her. And what are the numbers saying? Before we get into what MSNBC believes, I believe that it's really simple. Number one, she's not believable. Okay, anything that comes out of her mouth, her delivery, it just doesn't stick. Okay, that's number one. Number two, she's a last minute candidate. They don't know her. And that's the problem. When you force Joe Biden out of the race, you took the risk by putting someone in there that nobody knows. And the problem is these working class individuals, the union families, the blue collars, they need to know you. Number three, results tell the story. People hate Joe Biden and the policies and the economy and the immigration and the foreign wars. All of that contributes to why they have such a low approval rating. He's dragging her campaign down, and it's well deserved. And finally, her record. Can you point to something in her record that makes you say, wow, she's really a leader of people. Like, think about it. You think she can walk into a room and lead men? It's not even a gender thing. It's a performance thing. It's a record thing. It's an energy thing. I say this all the time. If Condoleezza Rice was in a room with a full of men, I bet they would listen. If Michelle Obama was in a room full of people, I bet they would probably listen. But Kamala Harris does not give off that big boss energy, if that makes sense. And if you're going to be the commander in chief, hey, that's why I think these people are not endorsing her. But let's hear from the Trump deranged MSDNC and what their excuses are.
Still haven't heard a lot of policies. She didn't tell me how she would make the economy better.
Opportunity economy. That's a great tagline.
That was Harris.
But exactly what does it mean?
Denise, what do you fear with Harris?
The fact that we don't know where she stands on different policies.
And I just don't know Harris well enough. Her policies are weak to me.
She's going to go wherever the wind takes her.
I don't like that woman. I mean, I don't know her, but just watching her.
Those were undecided voters expressing a recurring sentiment that we are seeing a lot of this election cycle. Skepticism about Democratic nominee Kamala Harris. Many undecided voters have cited the need for, quote, more information, despite Harris's nearly 4 years as vice president, debate appearance, and several media interviews. It turns out research shows this hesitation could be more about Harris's gender than her policies.
Okay, so let's talk about that. It's because of her gender, not her policies. It has nothing to do with the fact that she's a woman. I think what it has to do with is just common sense. If you're a woman and you plan to be the commander in chief, you better have an aura or an energy and a confidence about you that when you walk in the room, everybody shuts up and their eyes are on you. That's not Kamala Harris. And that's never been Kamala Harris. And to expect her to be that would be unfair to her. That's the human side of this entire election. You kind of feel bad for her because it's not like she demanded to be the candidate. Joe Biden endorsed her. He threw her in there. Now, I'm sure President Obama, I'm sure Nancy Pelosi, Hakeem Jeffries, the elites, they really did want her to be the candidate. But when Joe Biden put up that middle finger and said, you guys going to force me out? Okay, I got something for you. And he endorses her. What could they do at that point? They can't skip over her because that's the party of DEI, right? That would look bad for them. So I don't think it has anything to do with her gender. It's just an energy thing. It's not that women can't lead. Historically, men have led. There's no question. Every single president has been a man. So if it's going to be a woman, she better be a woman we've never seen before. And that is not Kamala Harris. Okay, so if you're getting value from this video, do us a favor, like, share, and subscribe to this channel. If you want to support us further, go to the link in the description below and grab yourself a t-shirt or buy us a cup of coffee. But what's more interesting is what your girl, the Trump deranged Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett, had to say about this failed endorsement of Kamala Harris. Let's watch that.
Are you concerned about the firefighters union? That has been a key part of the Biden constituency, the Biden base, if you will, the labor movement base. Now it's the Teamsters, it's the firefighters. Is there something she can do to reassure the labor unions, working class people, men in particular, that she's got their back and that she knows their issues?
Yeah, because I haven't been in those rooms to understand what the disagreements have been about, it's hard for me to say what potentially the vice president could do to earn their support. I can say that she has a very strong record. You know, a lot of times when we're going through elections, we only have the promises that are put out there out front. But we know that this is someone who has stood with the PRO Act versus we know Donald Trump and the vast majority of his minions do not support the PRO Act. And so I think that she does have a record. I think that record is strong on unions in record fashion. We know that the teachers union came out almost immediately when the transition was made, and there have been so many other unions. I just can't really speak for what's going on with some of these other unions at this moment. I don't know what the disagreement it is. And so without me being able to assess what the underlying issue is, it's hard for me to say what she can do. But I can say that if you are a middle class working person, there's only one person in this race who has ever experienced that type of life. The other person was born and given $400 million and has never had to work to earn an honest penny a day of his life. We know that he got caught up for fraud in New York. We know that he had to file for bankruptcy 6 times. And so there is only one person who came from that middle class family and has worked her way up. And so if there's anybody you can trust in this fight, if there's only one team that's not talking about union busting, it's the blue team, the Harris Walls team.
Okay, so now you see why she's so Trump deranged, right? She's got to go to the personal stuff because that's all they can say. But let's first talk about the obvious with her response. She had no answer. Isn't that interesting? You have no answer. Aren't you the party of the working class? Well, what happened? You don't know these people? You haven't campaigned for her? You don't go into the room and try to find out? I mean, what a poor response. Well, I don't really know what's going on, so I can't really comment. You know what's going on. Your party has destroyed the working class. That's really what's going on here. And that's why she's losing the rank and file members of these unions. Now, of course, the teachers union is going to endorse her. You know why? Because they're liberal. These teachers are not really conservative. Academia is dominated by liberal ideology. And let's be real, what policy, because she claims that Kamala Harris has a strong record, what record is the International Association of Firefighters so proud of? There is none. What record is the union Teamsters so proud of? See, that's the interesting thing about her response. Don't blame Trump. You guys have been in office over the past 4 years. So if these unions are not endorsing your candidate, is it really about Trump or is it really about your own party and what you guys have failed to do? We know what the answer is. Now, before I wrap up this video, maybe the other reason why these unions are not confident in Kamala Harris is because she fails to communicate clearly her understanding of these individuals. When you are talking to people with platitudes and a lot of vague language, it doesn't mean you actually understand what their plight is. And when you come out and you try to explain to people what collective bargaining agreement means, and you just face plant the entire thing, or you do your whole word salad situation, yeah, I guess if I was part of the union, I wouldn't be confident either.
So collective bargaining, it's just a basic logical point. So here's what it means. It means that in any negotiation, you want the outcome to be fair, right? We all want fairness, right? Everybody wants fairness or should. So here's the thing about collective bargaining. If you want the outcome to be fair, you got to realize if you're requiring the one worker to negotiate against the big entity, do we really think that the outcome is going to be fair? Probably not. But if you let the workers together as the collective, then negotiate against the big entity, it's more likely that the outcome will be fair. That's the basic point of collective bargaining. That's the basic point of why we want our unions to be able to do their work on behalf of workers every day.
See, that's why I don't have any sympathy for her, because you're running to be the commander-in-chief. You are held to the highest standard out of everyone in this country. And if you can't communicate or deliver a message with any sense of clarity or confidence, that's on you. That's not my problem. So trying to make excuses for her poor delivery in these word salads, I think is ridiculous. That's her explanation of what a collective bargaining agreement is. I don't even understand why she even had to bring it up. I don't even think it even resonates with union members. And again, it just speaks to how fake she is and her failure to connect. And that is my opinion. What's yours? What do you guys think of this bombshell announcement where the unions are not endorsing Kamala Harris? How big of an impact do you believe it will have on her campaign? Let us know in the comments section below. Thank you for checking out the video today. Stay grateful, stay focused, and stay true. Peace.